Thank you so very much for that. That was really good, giving us some of the nitty-gritty of behind the scenes. What is the platform that drives our training with each other? How was GSMC, the faculty members and the students able to still continue in their learning despite the onset of the pandemic? Why was this program started? And it was wonderful. I was writing notes with it. It is the MEL approach, MEEL, multimedia, expertise, depth, entrepreneurial skills, and very importantly, leadership. All critical components in this time and age when we have to be very flexible, very light on our feet as we move. And as Dr. Kimani said, there are layers to deepen and extend our knowledge and to push the boundaries, not just of the craft, but very importantly, of ourselves. Those are the aspects that the Graduate School of Media and Communications and the Master of Digital Journalism looks at as it continually works and modifies its programs to address the programs of today in creating journalism moving forward into the future. Personally, I think that it is a very, very exciting time for journalism. The different platforms we have, from the traditional media of print and TV to the online platforms of YouTube and TikTok, Instagram, blogs, and the variety of ways in which we can communicate with each other. You are writers. You are the ones who can manipulate the written word and the spoken word and the visual word in ways that make individuals like myself want to pay for it and pay you to continually get that content. But we need the requisite skills and the opportunity and training to be able to sharpen and harmonize that what is within us to be able to do that. So you've heard a lot of the technical side, you've heard from the administrators, you've heard from the faculty, but now is the interesting time. What do our students truly say? And as a disclaimer, we have told them to be true and honest about what they communicate, because we feel that is the only way we can really be of service to yourselves and allow us to accomplish our mission in terms of improving media and communications within the region. So we're going to have a very exciting panel. The panel will be led by one of our very own students, Mr. Peter Mwangangi, who will lead us through the next session of about 20 minutes. After that, you will have the opportunity to ask questions of what they've talked about or otherwise. But you can do that even before he has completed in the introduction and into the session using our email, which will be shared with you on the chat group. So just look at the chat group. If you have a question there, you can send it. The email will also be given to you to the registrar's office. And let us have fun now as we go into the moderation session. Let us welcome our own student into that session in the way we've agreed. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Peter Mwangangi.
Thank you, Gitonga, for the opportunity. Of course, I'm not alone in this panel. I just want to introduce my colleagues. Julian Kamau, who is the social media editor at Standard Group here in Kenya. We also have Alex Taremo, who is a consultant with UNICEF Uganda, and Kenfrey Kiberenge, who is an editor at Nation Media Group, and Patrick Gathara, who is a freelance columnist and also a cartoonist. He'll be joining us a bit later. He has some emergency that he is dealing with. I think we start with the ladies. I want to go to Julian, who I happened to share internship with about 8 years ago. And I just want to hear her experience on this particular of her journey. Maybe I want to ask you, Julian, how was it? How did you balance work and study, and how flexible was the timing of the program? If it was a challenge, how did you overcome it? If you would unmute, please, Julian.
I'm sorry. I thought I unmuted. So, like Mwangangi has introduced me, my name is Julian Kamau, social media editor at the Standard Group. I graduated this year, Feb 2020. So my experience at AKU, one, how did I balance between work and school? It was very hard, I won't even lie. It was one of those very hard balancing acts that I had to deal with. But how I managed it was basically prioritizing, first of all, knowing that I knew I wanted this, and I knew I had to graduate, and I had to push myself. There was no way it was going to be easy, so I had to do everything within my power to just make sure that I get to graduate, or rather finish this with this course. So how I did it, one was to prioritize on the things that I needed to do. I had to make sure that at work I have done the most important things and most urgent things. And I also had to make sure that I've met all the assignments. I know the assignments that are due and when they are due, and of course, prioritize on that. So that's how I was able to bring a balance between the two, work and school. Secondly, I had a very supportive system, and that's both at work, at home, and also at school. So one thing I had to do was that I had to communicate to my boss or my supervisor, my employer, that of course I'm taking school and it will require me probably to leave early to be able to make it to school on time and also to finish up on assignments. So you just, it's always good to just communicate with them so that they know once they see you sneaking either a little bit early, and also so that you don't have to keep running around or hiding when you're going to school. It's just important to let them know. So that's what I did, and I was able to just have a conducive environment, because also you need to have peace of mind when you're running from work and to school. And of course, considering the fact that I was living the other side of town, I was on Mombasa Road and I had to cross over to Westlands. And most of you know the traffic jam during that time. So it's not easy, but I think, like I said, you just have to find a balance. The other thing was making sure that time management. I think it really taught me how to manage my time well, because if I just messed up a bit, I'd find myself in a lot of trouble. Yes, and of course making it to time by 5:30. And I didn't also mention that students were also a very big part of my support system, and also the lecturers. They were very friendly, supportive, and and that is when it came to assignments. We'd keep reminding each other, oh guys, this is the assignments that's due, who's struggling, how to help each other. And also the lecturers were very friendly, almost different from what probably we've experienced in undergrad. Yes, Wangangi, I don't know if I've answered all your questions.
Yes, I think you have, and we just want to hear more now about the school itself. And I want to throw this to Kenfree. Kenfree, talk to us about your student life experience, learning from other students, using the facilities, the studios, the library. Talk to us about that.
Thank you very much. My name is Kenfree Kiborenge. I'm busy at Nairobi's mission. And like Julian, I graduated in February of this year, having started in 2018. So one thing about GSMC, and where we were based for the 2 years, is that I was impressed when they said that we are learning about multimedia journalism. I was impressed. So even the multimedia room itself, speaks volumes about the program. You did not. The only time you shared a camera is when you were required to, because you needed probably a cameraman and you are the sort of the reporter. But the facility, in terms of equipment, there are enough equipment. We had a radio room for if you needed to do a podcast. The state of the art, the newest equipment that they can never be. And then, I was just thinking, reflecting as Dr. Sam was talking about the virtual learning. We began virtual learning way back in 2018. By the time the pandemic was hitting Kenya, we were not in school. I wasn't in school. So, but it was easier for me, even at work, to sort of like the people I supervise or manage. It was easier for me to navigate through Zoom. Then, as most people were being asked to, mute your microphones and whatnot, GSMC had already taught me facts. And then, obviously, the students that I was in school with, some of them or many of them have the kind of experience that we learn from. It's not just the faculty that you will come and sit, stand in front of you and lecture. We had students having sessions to share their experiences, panels from other students, and it's a blend where you find very strong broadcast journalists, very strong digital journalists, very strong print journalists. So it's sort of like a nice blend where you can learn. Some students have never stepped inside a museum. And they did not have to go to a lecturer to ask them things about a person and so forth. They could just to the next newspaper reporter or a newspaper editor and get all that information from the students. So, and then also the library, I was just looking through my email. I can't remember the last time I could just sit and ask for the library to send me staff journals to read when I was doing my thesis. I have a lot of information, any information I needed. The library, the online library, you get a lot of information from there. You can either start on your own, or you feel like, most of us, you needed a bit of spoon feeding. Sorry to use that word. You could as well email Augustine. Most of the guys who will join the program will come to know Augustine, and they will, we will work closely with them. And it's always ready to send whatever materials that you need. And also, I cannot forget the support that we got from the technical side. Anytime we needed to go out for a shoot, the cameras were there. The friendly staff, they would always come in if you needed the camera, even at short notice. And you go and you're doing your documentary. It was really great. And obviously, the faculty itself, I think probably that's something that we can talk about the faculty. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenfrey. I see some of you have some questions. Please write them on the chat, and then we'll find the answers to those questions a bit later. But now I want to go to Alex. Alex, you left Uganda to come to Kenya for this program. Tell us what it took. Talk to us about that.
Well, I'm in Uganda now. Currently, I'm seated at Matoka Republic. That's the newspaper that I edit. But I consider myself incredibly lucky that I was the first Ugandan student, the first East African student, I think, to join the MADJ program at the Graduate School of Media and Communications. And like Julian and Kenfrey have said, we had an incredible support system. I was spoon-fed actually, because at the time I was the only one. I had an airport pick-up and drop-off. I had this fancy apartment myself. And I think the first day of the bootcamp, I was allowed to have wine with some of the faculty members. I had, Dr. Sam, who just spoke moments earlier. And I felt that there was no difference between where I was in Uganda and at GSMC. I was much at home. So it made it easy for me to seamlessly join and interact with my classmates. Even when I was living a bit further, Kenfrey here used to drive me to my place on Thika Road and, bring me sometimes. So I was so lucky that I didn't feel the transition or didn't feel the pressure of the transition from Uganda to Kenya. And because you have that 1 week midterm break, which happens, I think, after the 6th week. So I would come back home and come back to school and almost seem like I never left. And some of my classmates who are incredibly experienced and I made very good friends of, made it easy for me to understand the life of Kenya, get involved, with some of the conferences and some of their workplaces. I was at the BBC, where you are sometime. And to be honest, I haven't enjoyed myself more than when I was in Nairobi. I actually can't wait to come back.
All right, thank you. Because of time, I'll ask my panelists to be a bit brief. I want to throw this to Julian in terms of how did the scholarship help her in terms of affording the program, as well as talk to us about your academic journey, like the thesis, class experience, and all that. And then the guest speakers who usually come to the classes. Talk to us about that, Julian, briefly.
Okay, so one, I was very honored, or is it privileged, to, of course, get the scholarship, which was 90% of what we were paying. I can tell you for sure I would never have afforded to pay the amount of scholarship the amount of school fees, or rather tuition fee, that is charged at Aga Khan, which is makes sense, the amount of money, considering what you get when you go there. So the scholarship really, really helped me in a big deal. I was able to pay my bit of the school fees, which was about 10%. So on my learning experience, one thing I learned, when I applied for this course, the scholarship was very helpful to me. One, because the course is very, the price, or the tuition fee, I would not have been able to pay for that tuition fee if I was doing it by myself. That's for sure. I would never stand a chance to pay the school fees by myself. So I was able to get 90% scholarship, and I would pay the other 10%, of course, which made it very easy and affordable on my end. The second thing I'd like to talk about, of course, is the learning experience. Because I'm a digital journalist, even when I was applying for this, I was working on the digital department. I was very curious to know what new skills I would acquire in this course, considering that it was a digital journalism course, the same thing that I was doing. But of course, it was of interest to me because I had previously done electronic media in my undergrad. But one of the biggest highlights or rather one of the biggest things I learned in this course was that there's so many things that you probably think you know until you discover that you actually don't know much. It opened up my mind to so many opportunities in media. One of the highlights would have to be the solutions journalism class, which was very eye-opening for me, and in terms of getting to know what you can do beyond just telling the story, and also what your role is as a journalist, especially when you're doing as a journalist in East Africa and even rather in the world. The other highlight has to be the leadership class. This is where you'll realize that most times in journalism, you probably become a leader by default, or you're thrown into leadership with zero skills in leadership. So that was such a major eye-opener for me, because I was able to learn so many things about how to manage people, how to manage emotional intelligence, and how to lead in the media space, because you'll probably learn that it's probably one of the industries that is a bit struggling with leadership. The other skills, of course, was, I think, as Dr. Sam, mentioned, was that we learned about multimedia journalism, which is very, very key for any journalist operating, especially in this era. You need to be all-rounded. You need to understand video, you need to understand radio, you need to understand digital and print, or rather text, and also how they complement each other. So that was, for me, was also a very, very big lesson that I am actually implementing at my workplace. And the last thing has to be the reflections that we used to do after every class. It was very important that we do reflections after every class. So it was not just about writing the paper or doing your assignments and you're done. You needed to engage with it. You needed to see how it's going to it has influenced your life, and also how you're going to implement it at work.
Thank you, Julian. I think we'll take, you've taken a bit of time there. For the rest of the questions for our panelists, I ask of you to be considerate in terms of time. Julian, you spoke about scholarships. I just want to stick to that a bit and go to Alex. Alex, talk to us about your scholarship, and also I know there's a stipend that Ugandan students usually receive. Talk to us about that.
You want to bring that up? So yes, I received a generous scholarship of 95% from GSMC, which has been very helpful because, as Julian said, there's no way I was going to raise $20,000 by myself. And to get along, because when you come from Uganda, you have left your job, and in Nairobi, it's kind of hard for you to work and study when you are an international student. So I found it thoughtful that the school thought of a $550 stipend, which was graduated over time, to advance it to us, to enable us to afford our ways around. I think it was also thoughtful for them to organize for us accommodation system and also transport system, so that for those of us who are new and not familiar with the traffic that Julian was talking about earlier, you find it easy to get along in that city. And if you don't know where to stay or don't have any information about where you can find a house, the school also organizes for you that stipend, enable you to afford somewhere that is livable, and secure and safe, so that your family back home doesn't have to worry about how you're getting along. So for me, that's quite a plus.
Thank you, Alex, for being candid about that. I want to go to Kenfrey now. Kenfrey, what has been the impact of this program on your career and your personal life? Have you gotten a promotion, more opportunities?
Well, not a promotion per se, because of other factors affecting the media industry globally. However, I would say a lot more is expected of me now. More responsibilities. My supervisors and my colleagues believe in me much more right now, and even for my own the work that I do, I'm more confident. I'm also it's also easier because of the environment or what we learn at school, the knowledge, new skills that we got from the school now helps me do navigate the workplace much better. Like like what Julian was talking about, solutions journalism, and there was the issue of conceiving like a new project. It's now easier for me to do it in a more structured way. Previously, I would just just wake up and scribble some notes down and see how that goes. But at school you learn in a structured way how to conceive an idea, develop it, and even pitch it to potential advertisers or financiers. So, but I know people, my colleagues, my classmates, or others in the other cohorts who've gotten opportunities as a result of just enrolling or as being part of this school.
Thank you. Last question, I'll give Julian, Alex, and you, Kenfrey, 30 seconds to answer. Would you recommend this program to any other person? Let's start with Julian. 30 seconds.
I would definitely recommend this course to anyone interested in journalism, media, leadership, and of course the comms part. This is because this course is very practical. It's very it's very conducive. It's a very conducive working studying environment, and it will also open your mind to very many opportunities. Even though if you're a freelancer, if you're employed, whatever sector of the media you are, this is very beneficial. Will be very beneficial for you, and especially because of the practicality of it and the many students you'll be able to interact with from different backgrounds, as well as the faculty and guest speakers who are experts in the industry. So you really want to take this course. Thank
All
you.
right, Alex.
I would definitely recommend the program because of what I have personally learned and experienced. And also, Gitonga was talking about all those platforms that are currently available for a journalist to use. But allow me to retort a statement from one of my favorite human beings, Steve Jobs. No amount of technology can turn a bad story into a good story. None. So you need to get the skills to tell your stories better, and I think this program gives you exactly that. So if you want to be a better journalist, there's no other way out. You have to enroll for the program.
All right, Kenfrey.
Peter, if you do a census research on the second cohort and the third cohort, the number of students have recommended the program to, the number is crazy. And then secondly, at GSMC, I made friends, my classmates, the faculty, and these are good networks that will help me even in the future. And then finally, I think some of my colleagues started master's programs in a school I don't want to mention, in 2012 or even before. They had to graduate. At GSMC, it has been shown that you can actually graduate with a master's degree within 2 years. Yes.
Thank you, Kenfrey. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Julian. I think now we'll go to the Q&A, and I've seen a number of questions here. I think one was coming from Jacob Nyukuri from the Media Council of Kenya. Maybe I can direct the question to GSMC, the team, to answer, to kindly elaborate to us what more about the scholarship for the program. And also, I've seen a question, they can tie it together. I saw from Collins Etiang, he's asking, kindly elaborate on the work experience required. I think Asha will take that one, if I'm not wrong.
I would like to respond to these questions. Regarding the scholarship, which most of you are interested in, scholarships are available to applicants, successful applicants of the Master of Arts in Digital Journalism program. What you need to do is go through the whole application process. That means you need to log into the website, submit your application, and then if you are successful enough to proceed to the next step of the admission exams and the interviews, then we issue you with an offer letter. That is the point where you will be requested to apply for scholarships. In the past 3 intakes we've had, students have had scholarships awarded to them up to 95% of the tuition fee, like Alex has mentioned. So this scholarship is usually awarded on a needs-based basis. Once you have submitted your application, then a committee will deliberate and decide who will get what percentage, depending on the need. Also, someone asked something about the work experience required for this program. We need a minimum of 2 years working experience in journalism, communications, and related areas. So how that is determined is if you have a university degree, that is the first important thing. If you have a university degree and a second class honors upper division or a GPA of 3.0, then you will be required to have a minimum of 2 years of experience. But if you have a degree with a second lower or a GPA of 2.5, then you will require a minimum of 4 years work experience. Thanks, Peter.
All right, thank you for that. Still on that, maybe there's a question here from Verena. She's asking, does that mean non-Africans will not be able to receive a scholarship? 20,000 USD is not affordable for most interested candidates. Asha.
Well, thank you, Peter. At the moment, scholarships are available to applicants from the East African countries, but we also have a component of the scholarship that is from the Aga Khan University, and this will be determined at the point where you have been offered an offer letter for the program. So do not feel shy of applying. Most of the time, other applicants also have donors offering scholarships for them to pursue the program. So if you have the minimum requirements for the program, do not feel shy. Go ahead and make your application. We never know what opportunities will be there by the time you're getting your offer and commencing the program.
It's a good question, but realize this one is focused on the East African region. So all the students are both African and East African.
Thank you, Gitonga. There's one direct to the faculty. I think I direct to Dr. Sam Kamau. Are there plans for virtual learning?
All right, thank you. Thank you for that question. At least for virtual learning, I can start, I can answer that bit. For virtual learning, like I mentioned earlier, we, given the disruptions that came in at around March, I mentioned that we had already set in place the online infrastructure to facilitate virtual learning. And so for us, it was seamless. We were just able to continue. And now, as we prepare to resume, the new semester for the third cohort, which is starting next week, the material, the infrastructure to facilitate that is already online, and therefore we're just waiting to resume. There has been no interruption because it was made clear we will not be able to resume face-to-face classes in Kenya, at least for the foreseeable future. But that has not, affected the progress in terms of virtual learning. In fact, what we are doing is now to see what aspects would replace the physical face-to-face collaboration activities that are built within the program. In terms of flexibility, perhaps I would have wanted specifics on that in terms of how flexible it is for the learners so that we can provide maybe more specific information. But we also tend to respond a lot to unique needs and interests of the learners so that like initially those people who are traveling by, because of the nature of their work, would look for ways of accommodating them, whether it is through now recording some of these sessions that we are doing to ensure that nobody misses out. But if it is something very specific in terms of the flexibility, can try to get more information. I've just seen one question posted in terms of any provisions for hands-on learning despite the COVID-19 restrictions. I think for now, we will honor the requirements and the restrictions that have been put in place that do not allow the face-to-face interaction, for now at least learning, until different directions are given. But when the situation changes, there are certain aspects we think would be best covered through a face-to-face interaction. But for now, I think it will be virtual until the point where we are able now to resume face-to-face learning. Our desire is to have more of what you call blended. Some aspects involve face-to-face interaction and the rest is online, but that depends on how the situation evolves and the directions that are given by the government. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sam. There are more questions here. Masigaki, I think it's a comment. I believe AKU is a wonderful place to get world-class training in digital journalism. Anne Kanina is asking, for women, can you take a break, go deliver and breastfeed, then resume the course? Flexibility. I don't know who should take that.
Asha.
Okay.
No, it's because she's the registrar, not because she's a woman.
Thank you so much, and of course it is possible for you to take a break within the study, go deliver, breastfeed, and then resume the course of study. We allow you to take a leave of absence up to a certain period, which we will be able to discuss when that situation arises. And just as we continue, one of our panelists in the session today, Julian, she also added a new member to her family while pursuing this program. So it's something that's really workable, and you can see from her experience that she was actually even able to complete the program within the scheduled 2 years. So it's very possible. Do not shy away from applying because you think it will hinder parts of your growth.
All right. There's another question here. I am Jeff Kinyanjui, a correspondent working for Nation Media Group. My question is it possible to apply currently if I am yet to graduate? I was due to graduate this month with a Bachelor of Science degree in Communication and PR from Moy University, but due to the pandemic, that has been postponed and we are not sure when it will happen. Asha, I think this is still yours.
Thank you very much, George, for gaining interest in our program. Unfortunately, you will not be an eligible candidate for our program at this point because we require you to have a first degree and a minimum of 2 years experience from the time you are graduating, or at least from the last year of study. So maybe not this time, but in the next 2 years, we welcome you to join us for this program.
Where is it? Margaret Muthe, she's a writer. I know her. She says, does the program incorporate creative writing, and how flexible are the classes? I think Sam, you can take this one.
Take the question again.
She's asking, does the program incorporate creative writing?
Yeah, that would have been a very good question for Peter Kimani. I'm not sure whether he's still online because that is his area. But I would say yes, we normally have quite a number of writing boot camps and workshops that are organized by the school. Some of them are within, and I should have explained, we have what is within the formal curriculum and what you call the informal curriculum. We have a series of boot camps that are supposed to address some specific skills gaps or skills needs that have been identified. And yes, there is an opportunity for that. It's not firmly built within the program. What we have within the program, of course, is writing, and there will be quite a number of workshops around that. But also Peter, whose trend is also creative writing, also runs a number of sessions on that. And definitely it's a need that can be met within the program. I can see Powell wanted to say something, I think, responding to the earlier question, but says he's been muted. If he can be facilitated to speak.
All right, sorry. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm glad to be part of this open day. And Peter, those are very good responses coming through. And I think ideally Asha covered the response adequately. But on the concern of that particular interested applicant regarding whether they can apply without the final certification, we have in the program information on admission information that one is able to actually apply, and then we'll consider that application provisionally. And I think Asha has captured that. So feel free to apply. We'll take a look at your papers. You need to have the minimum years of experience at work, but your certificates, we know that there are issues with COVID-19 in terms of program completion, whatever you're doing, in terms of access to required documentation, but put in your application, we'll be able to look at it and advise you accordingly. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Powell. Clinton, I think he had a question. Oh, he's just asked, how possible is it to work and study by the working being virtual? I don't know whether, Clinton, you can just clarify your question again. How possible is it to work and study by the working being virtual? I don't know whether Asha, you understand the question. You can take it. And that should be the last question.
I believe from the question he might have been asking how possible is it to work while having virtual classes. As Dr. Kamau mentioned, and Asha has also alluded to, our regular class sessions were held in the evening from 5:30 until about 9 in the evening. So the model similarly follows that program, allowing the student to continue as they remain in their professional field. So you will have discovered from our panelists and others that they did not leave their jobs, except for Mr. Sharemo, who moved countries, but they kept working as per normal, and thereby the challenges of, for instance, driving on Mombasa Road or other locations. So you will be able to continue your professional journey and as well as participate in the classes. That's why time management and some of these other issues were mentioned. Back to you, Peter.
All right, I think that will be the last question. I want to thank Alex Taremwa, Kenfiki Berenge, Julian for being gracious and joining us. I now want to hand over back to you, Gitonga, and also you'll direct, if anyone has further questions, where they can direct them to. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give an applause for Peter for that wonderful session he has run for us. Thank you so very much for that, Peter. You know, quickly you're becoming the default person for a lot of our sessions once we discovered your skills. So we really appreciate you stepping in, as well as to our other students, Kenfrey, Gillian, and Alex. And I'll touch on Alex for a little minute, because there were certain things mentioned, for instance, family concerns, as you have mentioned, friend concerns that you have mentioned, the stress of moving into the classroom environment and now working within this virtual environment, working distance from home, the dehumanization thanks to COVID. There are some services that we offer that are separate from just the academic, and I'll specifically mention our mental health sessions that we have in counseling and otherwise. Those are available to our students just as they are to our staff, free of charge. So when you find those stresses are there, and they will be there, there will be difficulties of doing homework and your child is on your lap, or you have to take care of your parents, or you just have the demands of deadlines and work. How do you manage these stresses in life? So our counseling sessions will be able to help you with that, as well as some of the fun activities, and that's why I touch on Alex. He was my captain last year in the sports day, which we felt we should have been #1, and he's still holding a petition to see if we can get back our shield to be #1. But such activities,
I hope
Gitonga haven't gotten your appeal yet. And I hear it's not. I'm moving on to other virtual kind of games, and you still want to appeal the physical one last year. Anyway, you're free to appeal.
I forgot. I forget. Mr. Paolo Chieng is the Director of Student Experience and the Associate Registrar, and he actually coordinated the activities last year. So I forgot he was on the session, and he caught me talking about that. But yes, we do offer those things, yes. So we believe in having fun. You will notice from Dr. Kimani's humor, Sam's humor, the registrar's humor, we like a light, fun experience to make it enjoyable for all of us as we go through this journey. Learning is a process, it is a journey, and it is challenging. But who says we can't have fun in the journey of that path? Keywords for the day, ladies and gentlemen: change, opportunity, time management, an open mind, feeling at home, and MEL, the multimedia depth, expertise in subject, entrepreneurial skills, and leadership. This is what the Graduate School of Media and Communications here at the Aga Khan offer you. These are the opportunities you can explore. Let not this conversation end here today. Please look in the chat. You will find an email in which you can send your correspondence. Be honest, be truthful, be hard. Ask us the questions, and we will truthfully and honestly answer them.